How would you introduce yourself to someone meeting you for the first time?
I didn't talk about stiff person syndrome. I just say, "Hi, my name is Madison," and then try and find a common thing that they're doing or I have with them in their pocket or whatever we're trying to do. I don't want people to just see my chair or I just I want people to see me, see Madison. So, it's I'm Madison, and, it's usually if I'm at the school, I'm studying biotechnology management or whatever it is at the time.
What brings you joy in everyday life?
I would say what brings me joy is helping other people. I have quite a few organizations and things that I work with rare disease advocacy and helping people in the community who are in the elderly community, as well as, like, the pediatric community, and, I'm a part of, like, the Nevada Rare Disease Advisory Council, so that's a big deal here in, Las Vegas, Nevada, where I'm from, and, I get a lot of joy, obviously, from my faith, and what that brings to me and to be able to be a part of organizations and things that need help the most there.
Can you tell us a little about your diagnosis?
Stiff person syndrome is a rare autoimmune nerve movement syndrome, which basically is turning my muscles stiff and rigid. But for myself, it's from my head to my toes. In other people, it can be different places. It could be one limb. It could be just in their fingers. It could be um, classic and just be in their trunk and legs. But for me, I have it all over. So it does affect like my breathing and different things like that. Um, not every person's different with stiff person syndrome. That's one thing that we found very early. But for me, um, it is triggered by the classic things like loud noises, my own emotions, and touch. But I also get triggered by vibrations and cold.
Can you tell us more about how self-person syndrome has affected your daily life?
Oh my gosh. Um, that is a question. It impacts everything. Your ability to walk, your ability to go to the bathroom, to move around and just do daily activities. Um, it has impacted it not in just the physical terms of like taking a shower or like making a meal for myself, but also like the social realms of things of like you have to turn down sometimes the volume on your phone or you have to say, no, I can't do that activity or no, I won't be able to do this because you have to conserve what energy you have because you're wasting so much time contracting your muscles because my muscles are always contracting that I need to reserve my energy. So, I mean, and then financially, of course, it's been a burden because now, I'm realizing that there's a lot of out of pocket medical costs that if I go to a different state and have an attack, then I'm in debt. And then that's really difficult, and then, it's impacted my family life because my family, they actually have, um, a problem with me coming up to see them, in Washington State because it's 90 miles to the nearest hospital, and if I have an attack, a serious attack, I won't be able to get there. So it's impacted my life quite a bit. I can't drive. I don't work. Um it's one of those things that you just gotta understand and deal with, though. Accept.
How has living with self-person syndrome affected your relationship with God and your Catholic faith?
Oh, wow. That is a question that even I have asked myself because it does impact my ability to get to mass and get to things that I would like to do more. But at the same time, I have people around me who say, "Madison, God understands. God gets it." And it's like, I have to believe that, and I have to remember that, and then I go back to the passages that I read that acknowledge that that is part of what happens, and that Jesus does recognize suffering and things like that. So, for me, I have to acknowledge it myself quite a bit, but it's one of those things that also was almost reinvented. It was reignited and rejuvenated, and it was something that when I got diagnosed, I wanted to utilize. I wanted to utilize my faith and utilize my experiences with what was ever going on, and I just said, "Whatever, whatever you have, God, I will take it, and we will do this." And so I started to, broadcast about my condition on YouTube and, get, awareness out there because I figured if not if people don't understand or people don't try, then we're not gonna find cures for these things, and that's actually how I got my start into the rare disease advocacy work I do now.
What does offering your suffering to God mean to you personally?
Me personally, it honestly means fully giving up myself to him, not not just the standard by the book stuff, but actually being willing to I sometimes compare the pain that I have to when Jesus was nailed to the cross because the pain is so excruciating that it's like your bones are cracking, and it's very, very painful, and so when I have those things happening, I have to, say to myself, "Okay, okay, God, thy will be done," which means, his will be done, basically. And it's a term and phrase that I take most sincerely because it's basically saying, "Okay, whatever you want, it'll happen." Even if I've been on a ventilator 7 times, and when you firmly can say that and know that, things are happening for a reason, it'll be okay.
What would you say to someone who is struggling to keep their faith while living with a serious illness?
But say just find your support networks, find people who I had a priest that said, "Find find your, sons and daughters of Jerusalem." And so that meant to go into the community and find those people who are your outreach community and support, and know that you are not alone. In the Bible, it says that, you know, things happen for a reason and that it was for the kingdom of God, and I firmly believe that you can get in touch with other people. You can get in touch with myself. You can ask about things, and you also can look to services that are available to you in the community through the networks and things that like people have for chronic conditions management. And and if the faith is something that's bothering you, talk to somebody about it because there are a lot of listening ears, and I learned that over the years. A lot of listening ears.
Are there particular prayers or Catholic teachings that give you strength during difficult days?
Oh, wow. Okay. So, for those of you who are Catholic, you may believe this. Others who aren't, you may not, and that's okay. I believe it though myself. When I was 21, I had a vision of Jesus coming out of the clouds, and I just turned 21. I was getting some tumors checked in my liver, and on my liver, and I am very, very close to Saint Pope John Paul II, Pope Saint John Paul II, and I I should share the same birthday with him, and he is a pope that suffered great suffering, great, great suffering. So a lot of the time when I, um, think about, my suffering, I remember that vision that I had because it was in the form of a crucifixion. He was in the form of the crucifixion, and I also remember John Paul II and how he would purposely live his life and faithfully live his life with Parkinson's in public and literally, would be suffering in front of people. And so I try and think about his life and, um, that vision that I had that God basically was calling me to suffer, and for a reason. It's a very morbid thing, but, that's my way of consoling myself is to think about the why and the reason why we are called to suffer with God.
Who or what has been an important source of support for you?
My friends, my family, God, obviously, um, my different activities and things that I can do, and just being able to be a part of, the, organization called the Every Life Foundation for Rare Diseases. It's a very big, advocacy organization, and I am an extreme patient advocate. I will do everything I can for patients. I'm supposed to go down to the city hall, in August and speak to the senators for soon as well. And I'm, trying to start a rare disease coalition here in Nevada and different things that just, you know, bring me joy and life. And it could also just be as simple as somebody who's down at the rec center and is down, and I talk to them and I make them feel good, make them feel better. That gives me support. It's a very lovely thing when you can do something for somebody else. It's the most important thing, I think.
What do you wish religious communities understood better about supporting people who live with rare or disabling diseases?
I think one of the things that I wish people understood better is that just to open your mind, open your heart, and to think of the person as a person. That's all. Like, they are part of the community. They're part of God's kingdom, and that Jesus himself said that those people were part of his plan, that the blind were part to see the kingdom of God. And that if you can literally just stay open-minded, stay open-hearted, and sometimes I've had this myself, and it's one of those things that you have to just keep an open mind and open heart.
You ever feel that people focus on your condition before seeing you as a person?
A lot of the time, I actually have had this many, many times, whether it be I'm out in public and I'm trying to race down the street trying to make it to the bus, and somebody says something about my wheelchair or calls me a derogatory term, or I'm on the Las Vegas Strip with my headphones on and people are just, like, staring at me, and or I'm in a relationship or possibility of a relationship, and they literally when I say a wheelchair, they're gone. It's like, "Hello, it's Madison. I have other things about me you might like, reading. I love reading. I love I have different things that I like."
Are you currently receiving any
I
treatment?
am. I do, IV, IG, or intravenous immunoglobulin therapy, 2 times a week, every 2 weeks. That's a really large dose, but it's what's helped me right now because I've been, advancing, and so I need to, I needed more medicine. I get some, other medications like baclofen, diazepam. I do, dantrolene, Lyrica, and methylcarbamol, and I don't do oral baclofen, I have an intrathecal baclofen pump, so it's a baclofen pump that goes, like, directly to my spinal cord.
Types of rehabilitation services do you receive, such as physical, occupational, or speech therapy?
So, I have physical therapy, occupational therapy. I also do speech therapy because I have a lot of problems with swallowing and my jaw, and, we have I've been developing aphasia because of, um, hitting myself in my head involuntarily. Um, and then also I do, have some background in, of water therapy, and, pelvic floor therapy. Um, and unfortunately, those 2 and also balance therapy and respiratory therapy. And unfortunately, the pelvic floor therapy, the water therapy, and the balance therapy cannot be approved at the same time as physical therapy because they all fall into the same discipline. So, unfortunately, with the insurance, that's like a rule with the insurance I have here in America. But it's one of those things that you just have to deal with. And there are other programs that can offer me at least water therapy, which would be a big help, is to get me in the water and get me in that nice heated pool and do some exercises in there. It's very calming to the muscles they've seen, and it could really really help. Um, but it's a physical therapy, occupational therapy are so important though to me because I get to keep trying and keep going, and I've had some really good success, but, there's not enough research into OT and PT that we could actually firmly, um, look at, the data and say that this works or this works. And it's so confusing because there's so many different patients with stiff person syndrome that we don't know what works or what doesn't work. And so we're kind of just trial by firing it a lot of the time. Um, but the good thing is that I've had some of the most dedicated individuals to their craft, and I adore that because if you have somebody of a team who's dedicated to their job and can do their job, that is the most wonderful thing ever.
Are you still using the helmet shown in your YouTube videos? And are the involuntary movements that cause you to get your head related to stiff person syndrome?
So I have not been wearing my helmet and I have been hitting myself in the face. So my OT recommended just yesterday that I start wearing my helmet again. I should not be hitting my face and things. Um Now I don't know. We don't know. That's the grand scheme of thing answer. We don't know. I don't know. Um it is possible, yes. I get very, very stiff in my arm, and then I'll just involuntary go up. Other diagnoses considered because maybe something is layered on top of stiff person syndrome, or maybe it's a just a another factor that's not related at all. It's really challenging for them to figure that one out. That is the one thing that they're a little, like, iffy about because, it's such a big, issue for me. Um, but, I mean, I have a lot of tension in my shoulders and in my neck and things like that, and once we usually get that under control, those arms tend to relax down. So, it is definitely a possibility, but they just can't rule it in, they can't rule it out. It's atypical. It's like an atypical symptom. It's not usually what happens, they say, so it it really was something that they needed to send me to tertiary care for and just explore more.
Advice would you give another young person living with stiff person syndrome?
If you are watching and you are a young person with stiff person syndrome, I encourage you to get involved with other support groups and other networks. We have some great virtual communities through Facebook, and we also have some really great resources provided there as well. I also would say that don't be discouraged. You are not alone. You are not this alien. We always say that. You don't have to hide anymore, and you are loved, and you can find your way. You can find a place of being you without just being a stiff person syndrome patient. Is help out there for you. That there doesn't have to just be, even psychological, and we have a lot of patients who come and they want just somebody to talk to, or they want maybe, some understanding of what's going on in research right now, which is very, very exciting, you know, there's some very, very big, studies going on right now, so keep your chin up, you know, a cure maybe on the horizon, um, and just believe in yourself, believe in that, you know, there's people there to help you, and I know that's very easy to say, but that when we're down in the dumps, we gotta look at the positive side because if we only focused on the negative, we would never be able to get to the positive, ever, like, ever, and so I would just say, don't be discouraged. Find that help that you need, whatever that is, and don't be afraid to, you know, reach out to the different organizations in your community.
What message of faith would you like to leave with others?
Never judge someone for being disabled because Jesus never did. Jesus never judged another human being for being disabled. He healed them, or he did not heal them for the kingdom of God. And I firmly, firmly believe that if people had some forms of love and respect and just that love thy neighbor as thyself, as you're commanded to do, that you can and will find that we can have a much better environment and place to live in and work with. That's my hope. That's my takeaway from all of this is just to love the person as you do yourself because a lot of disabled people have very great stories to tell. We're just people. We are not just disabled.